I think we're going to continue to see more and more safety legislation and emissions legislation. As soon as the industry gets to the last target, then the governments bring in the next one. And it's a never-ending story, quite rightly so. Safety is an extremely important part. You're getting new technology now coming in, which allows, for example, if a car is changing lanes by mistake, then the driver's warned. There's emergency braking on many trucks these days, and it's coming into cars as well. So actually there's no end to how much you can improve safety in vehicles, and I think it's quite right, and I think it's going to continue. Emissions is exactly the same thing. We cannot afford the emissions that the current park puts out, which is why electric vehicles are becoming more and more popular. They're a bit down the road yet because they're too expensive, but you go to a place like Shanghai or Beijing and you can't breathe. So for sure, both safety and emissions regulations, I wouldn't argue with any of them. The industry needs to improve as fast as it can because we need it as a world. The problem, of course, is that it costs a lot of money. And as I said earlier on, margins in the car industry are pretty low already, and so the amount of investment that's required is not particularly welcome. I think the solution to that is joint efforts. Why would every single OEM find a solution for the new legislation in safety or the new legislation in emissions? There's going to be much more alliance work going on.
Yeah, I mean, the investments that the OEMs need to make obviously puts the profit more under pressure. And I agree exactly with the point that you are making, Nick, is that there will be more mergers or any type of partnerships moving to solve that part. But there's also the part of distribution. The OEMs have not managed to actually have less cost in distributing their vehicles. Still, it's far above 20% of their whole value is absorbed by cost for distributing the vehicles. If you look to other industries, it's far above any other industry. Yeah, and I always tend to say that if you look at the dealer networks with all the nice things they have done in terms of facilities, in terms of technology, in terms of showrooms, etc., the distribution model actually has not particularly changed over the last 100 years, maybe. And so I think there's a lot to gain there in efficiencies. And I think that's also an area where the OEMs need to focus on, is how can we reduce distribution costs over the next years. And that's especially where we are focusing on, is again helping OEMs to do that. Getting out waste off the distribution channels, using technology, digitalization, virtualization, new technologies, and enhanced data capabilities to increase the capability to connect to your customer out there. That is the focus areas that we have in our company.
I think this is a hugely important area in the business, and I talked earlier on about a paradigm shift. The retail network has to change very drastically. The fixed costs in the retail network are far too high, and the 4S approach of dealers is no longer valid. I think what we need is OEMs will want to have one or two big brand centers where they emphasize their brands, and people can go to the big cities and see a brand center. There'll also be a place for test drives because customers will want test drives. And then there's also, of course, the after sales and the financing activity. But they don't need to be in large, big, huge emporiums that we've had in the past. And so the problem here, the challenge here is how do you go from what you've got today to a much more lean and much more sensible retail network? You could say, well, actually, that's a big opportunity because you can sell these big things. They tend to be in quite good places, sometimes in the middle of cities or just on the edge of cities. But unfortunately, everything else, the drive to buy online is not just in the automotive industry, it's in food, it's in clothes, it's everything. And so there is less demand actually for these big retail stores in all industries. So it's going to be a bit of a challenge to monetize the assets, but that's what needs to happen. And when that can happen, then you can open up much more purpose-built facilities for doing whatever it might be, for doing the service work or for selling the car or for promoting the brand. That's a really big challenge for the industry. I think some have already realized that, and well, they definitely have and are moving in that direction, but it's not going to be that easy.
Whenever there's a product launch, they start investing a huge amount of money. Actually, that's not how the market is working anymore. The market is working on engaging customers, constantly trying to revive the brand in the eyes of a consumer out there. So that when the moment that the car launch is there, there's an automatic interest for that specific product. Look at how Apple is doing that. Look at how others doing it. They create some kind of atmosphere around the new product, so everybody wants to have a look at it. And that's the way the car industry also has to learn to spend less on traditional marketing and go more to the digital formats moving forward. That's one area, for instance. If you look at technical support, I'll give you an example. Today, all OEMs have dealers who are focusing on repairing cars. So if you look at the fix-it right first time rate, that's how you measure how they can fix the car when the car is in the dealership. It's not very much improving actually over the last couple of years. So they have to invest a lot of money to support dealers out there with technical support, people on the phone helping them, sending field engineers out to the dealer helping repair the car. Now the complexity is increasing in the car even, with all the technology coming in there, connected vehicle technology, autonomous driving. So we have to find a way, how can we leverage on all that knowledge about the car and provide technology-based solutions to the mechanics out in a workshop, for instance, to do the repair in the car. Cognitive intelligence will play a role here, for instance, because that gives you a possibility to really start driving for low-cost support solutions, helping the dealers repair their car and achieve fix-it right first time and satisfy the customers.
The savings come in very, very fast. So why don't we consider absorbing that setup costs and charging it out later? And then the OEM has got no reason why they wouldn't say, great, come on, it's going to be positive for me from day one. And they'll get a lot of savings, and they're looking for those sort of things.